Good evening, I'm Kim Christensen.
I'm Kyle Clark. 7 DPS schools will close. 3 others will be consolidated. School board made that final decision tonight. 9 News reporter Rachel Krause has been following this story for months. Rachel, a lot of pushback from the community, but this truly was the result we expected.
Yeah, it wasn't a surprise. Board members seemed resigned, somber even, as they voted unanimously to close schools. But backlash in the boardroom came quickly.
And with that, the motion passes.
The board's decision to close schools was greeted by immediate anger from the community.
And it's infuriating how quickly, how swiftly, and how predetermined this vote was.
Board members say this decision was far from easy.
This is an incredibly difficult decision.
I don't take this lightly.
And our pain is nothing compared to what I know the students and the families of the schools that have just been voted to close or redesigned are experiencing.
Dr. Carrie Olson, DPS school board president, says this decision was tough, but needed to address declining enrollment that's been on the district's radar for years.
And it's not fair to our students, our staff, our families to allow a school to continue when they don't have the funding.
The vote effectively approves closing 7 schools and restructuring 3 others. Many teachers at closing schools are guaranteed jobs within the district, but not all of them.
I want to thank members of the community.
Board members tonight are pushing the superintendent to change that.
You heard a lot of us talk tonight about our commitment to not just teachers, but our special service providers, our paraprofessionals, community liaisons, everybody who makes the school go around, our principals. And we said, you have to take care of our people.
Now the work will begin helping families find a new school, and they'll have options. Impacted families will have priority to choose any school in the district with openings. Olson believes these next steps will be tough, traumatic even for families, but the right move for DPS.
Time will tell if this is the right decision for the future, but we have given it our all, and we've made the best decision, I think, given everything that we have, and I believe it's the right one.
Board members tonight told the superintendent they want to see extra resources for LGBTQ, neurodiverse, and bilingual students who are impacted by these closures. Work will start immediately on the restructuring plan, and schools will close their doors next June. Reporting live in Denver, Rachel Krause, 9 News.
Rachel, it really is striking to have the DPS board making a controversial decision without just like hellacious infighting at each other that we've seen for years.
Yeah, in the boardroom tonight, we saw a very united front from the school board, and it's interesting because Dr. Olson actually told me she hadn't asked her fellow board members how they were going to vote on the plan. It seemed that everyone just felt this was the right decision for the district.
Well, it's going to help them in the months ahead, all the way around, and we hope that it helps the families as well. Thanks, Rachel.
Weather-wise, fairly warm and dry across the metro area today. That trend should continue into the weekend. Up in the mountains, though, Lauren Robinson, different story.
That's right. We're finally going to see our next system bring some snow into the mountains on Sunday. Front Range and Eastern Plains going to have to wait a little longer. In the meantime, we do have this giant ridge of high pressure over central portions of the U.S. and with it, we're going to see sunny, warmer conditions over the next few days. But across the Pacific Northwest, we do have our next system pushing its way onshore. It's moving very slowly, and that's what's eventually going to push into Colorado as we go into Sunday. Right now, though, not a whole lot to look at on our live radar. We're going to be pretty clear to partly cloudy overnight tonight. Tomorrow, temperatures warm even more. So as we go into the overnight hours and into early tomorrow, you're going to plan for those temperatures in the middle 30s to start your day. By the afternoon, we're warming into the low 60s. We're in the 50s by dinner time. And coming up in my full 7-day forecast, I'll have more details on when Denver could see some snow just ahead.
A new audit says Denver doesn't actually know how much taxpayer money is being spent on the city's homeless shelters.
9 News reporter Ria Jha spoke with the city auditor about his report, and Ria, it revealed major shortcomings.
Yeah, and that report found that it was millions of dollars in untracked spending. It also said the city is failing to ensure these shelters are safe. The auditor said this lack of oversight in spending and safety jeopardizes an already vulnerable population.
Every department, every program has an obligation to be fully accountable for the dollars that they spend.
Gaps in the system.
And this is no exception.
After the community voiced concerns about Denver's homeless shelter program, City Auditor Timothy O'Brien looked into it.
The department couldn't track how they were spending money.
The department was unable to provide a comprehensive financial breakdown, so he did it himself.
It's roughly $150 million for the time period that we reviewed.
150 million taxpayer dollars spent from January 2022 to March 2024.
We need to have that cost information. It needs to be consistent across the shelters so that the department can make better decisions about where we're going to put future dollars.
Reacting instead of planning. It's a pattern throughout the audit.
That security really needs to be thought of at the beginning, not at the end. Had the shelter had security measures in place, it certainly would have mitigated the risk of some of the occupants being injured.
The audit points to the former DoubleTree Hotel shelter and said the lack of security measures is what led to 3 shootings where 2 people died there earlier this year.
They didn't have the kind of strategic plan to implement security.
In response, the city said the audit failed to acknowledge the substantial progress in reducing unsheltered homelessness, and they're already in the process of making improvements.
I think they're in the process of doing this because we made the recommendations. I think that's positive.
The audit pointed to other issues, including a lack of non-discrimination policies, access to sensitive information, and the mayor's all-in Mile High initiative, saying it overwhelmed staff and delayed improvements. In response, the mayor and the city agreed with the findings, but also said the data is 8 months old and not an accurate representation of the current state of the shelter system as they continue to make improvements. Rhea Jha, 9 News.
The trial of a dentist from Aurora who's accused of killing his wife with poison is on hold. Jury selection was supposed to start today in the trial of James Craig. It was delayed after the DA announced Craig's defense attorney quit. Craig is charged with murder in the 2023 death of his wife, Angela. Prosecutors say he poisoned her with potassium cyanide and Visine eye drops. He faces additional charges, including evidence tampering and perjury.
Another Democrat at the state capitol is bailing on their job right after getting reelected. Senator Janet Buckner from Aurora announced today that she is resigning, effective in January. She says she wants to prioritize her family and health. She follows Chris Hansen of Denver out the door of the Senate. Both seats will be filled by a small group of Democratic Party leaders known as a vacancy committee.
So a vacancy committee is chosen by any member of a political party that shows up to its party's reorganization, which happens every 2 years. They can get elected to be a chair, a vice chair, or a secretary of each Senate district or House district. You can also be elected as a precinct organizer, and those folks are also included in the vacancy committee, as well as elected officials within that jurisdiction.
Works like that for Democrats and Republicans. Come January, 1 in 5 state legislators at the Capitol will have come into that building, not by the choice of voters originally, but by being appointed by a vacancy committee. DirecTV is calling off its plans to merge with Dish Network. The announcement comes after Dish's note holders didn't agree to the proposed debt terms. That was a condition of DirecTV's obligations to acquire Dish. DirecTV says the deal termination will be effective tomorrow. That deal was said to be necessary to save both of those struggling companies.
A professor at CU Boulder who fought for back pay after learning she and hundreds of her female colleagues were paid less than men in similar roles says it was never about the money.
Now, that said, she did help secure a $4.5 million settlement. 9 News reporter Colton Chavez joins us from Boulder with that tonight. Colton?
Well, Kyle, Shelley Miller, she's a professor here at the University of Colorado, and she's one of the nearly 400 plaintiffs that was involved in this entire thing. And when I talked with Professor Miller, she tells me that it's the other requirements in this settlement that she feels is going to keep stuff like this from ever happening again.
There were 16 of us who finally came together and said, we have nothing to lose. Let's lead this action.
Fighting for change is not always easy.
There were many, many women who did not want to participate because they were concerned about the optics. They were concerned about retaliation.
Environmental engineering professor Shelley Miller says what she discovered was too concerning to stay quiet about.
The transparency was non-existent.
A review the university conducted in 2021 found nearly 400 female faculty members were paid less than male staff members in similar roles.
We all realized, oh my gosh, all the women are lower paid than their male counterparts. Like, this is a real thing.
That violated state law. CU gave those women raises, but did not offer back pay. As part of the settlement, CU Boulder agreed to give back pay to 386 female faculty members and would conduct follow-up equity reviews every 3 years. Miller hopes those reviews will help prevent similar pay gaps in the future.
I had to go to the library and pull up a microfiche and look up the salaries. And I realized, like, at that time, like, oh, I'm actually underpaid compared to one of my peers.
The back pay for each staff member ranges from hundreds of dollars to nearly $50,000. But that means nothing to Miller.
This is a real precedent setting. And I'm proud because I have a lot of younger female colleagues. And I'm like, now look, I'm hopeful that this will enable you to be successful at your career here.
Now, CU did not admit to any wrongdoing in the settlement. In a statement, they say in part that CU Boulder is committed to both having equitable and fair wages. Now, if you want to take a look at that full statement, it's on our website at 9news.com. Live in Boulder tonight, Colton Chavez, 9 News.